Hello there. It is Friday, November 14th, and this is the afternoon shift. I'm adam-llorens. We're so pleased to be joined by you all on this beautiful Friday here in the land of 10,000 lakes. The high temperature today is going to be touching or getting very close to 70 degrees. I heard that this is going to be the last warm day, and warm being defined by above 65 until April, potentially. Paul-Millgate, our esteemed executive producer, is cutting the show today. Paul, Grace, and I, we all went out for lunch today. Paul, this weather is absolutely gorgeous, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's nice to have that one last shot at what feels like something that's a little bit warm before it's about to get really cold. I mean, I am going to Australia in a couple of weeks' time, so I'm going to get a nice taste of summer again. I'm going to land right when it's really, really hot in the middle of December. But yeah, it's nice to get this little glimpse of the summer that's just been once again.
I know. We were just reflecting, and for our loyal viewers out there at the afternoon shift, many of you have been asking, you're like, when did we get the next Food Truck Friday? When is that one coming back? We were thinking about it. It's probably been 6 or 7 weeks since we've done one of those.
Yeah, it has been a while, but yeah, it's there's not a lot of food trucks out and about at the moment. You know, It's not really food truck season, certainly not food truck festival season, and that's how we got those amazing trucks to come in, because they had the different food truck festivals that we're on. So yeah, maybe next year they'll ring us up again and say, let's get back to doing Food Truck Fridays.
It definitely was a good run while it lasted.
It was good while it lasted.
Definitely with the warm weather. We're gonna have a good run today here on the afternoon shift. It is a jam-packed show. We are going to be talking about this new gun ordinance that passed in St. Paul earlier this week. The Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus is suing the city of St. Paul because of this ordinance. This ordinance restricts assault-style weapons and high-capacity magazines. So we're going to be joined by the president of the Minnesota Gun Owners Law Center. His name is Rob Dorr. He'll be joining us after this first segment. And then later in this 3 o'clock hour, we're very pleased to be joined by the mayor of the city of St. Paul, Mr. Melvin Carter. Of course, his tenure as mayor is ending here shortly. He's been the mayor of St. Paul since 2018. One of his chief pieces of legislation that he wanted to pass this calendar year was this gun ordinance. He got it through. The city council passed it unanimously. We're going to be getting his response to Rob Dorr and the things that he has to say. Plus, we're going to be asking the mayor what his legacy is as the mayor of the city of St. Paul, his message to Mayor-elect her, and what's next for him. Some of these mayors, they go out and then you kind of never hear from them again. I'm curious to hear what Melvin Carter is up to next. Of course, Melvin Carter, born and raised in St. Paul, has been a St. Paul resident his entire life. The city is very special to him. I'm really excited to chat with him. Plus, we have Tony Liebert. He is a sports reporter from Bring Me the News. He writes a ton about the Minnesota Golden Gophers. The Gophers have a massive game in about 5 hours from now in Eugene, Oregon. The Oregon Ducks are ranked number 8 in the country, folks. They are well on their way to a potential berth in the college football playoff. They have a couple roadblocks along the way. They're hosting USC next week. Might be a little bit of a look-ahead spot for Oregon. The Gophers are a big underdog tonight. I think the line right now is at 25.5 points. So we're going to be getting Tony Liebert's takes on the Gophers tonight and maybe their pathway, if not to an outright victory, but maybe a cover, keeping the game relatively close tonight in Eugene at Autzen Stadium. Then in our 4 o'clock hour, we're going to be joined by my colleague from our sister station in the beautiful windy city of Chicago, Fox 32. Her name is Tina Nguyen. She is one of their lead Bears reporters. She'll be joining me live from Hallis Hall. Hallis Hall, of course, is the headquarters of the Chicago Bears in the beautiful suburb of Lake Forest, Illinois. She has all the insights as to all the things going on in that locker room, the latest with head coach Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams. Of course, the Bears are playing the Vikings, again, right here on Fox 9 on Sunday at noon. Pre-game coverage starts at 9:30 a.m. Our very own Dawn Mitchell joined me yesterday. She will be live at US Bank Stadium all day on Sunday, and we will have wall-to-wall coverage of this Vikings game that is really kind of becoming a bit of a line in the sand for the Vikings. If they win, their playoff hopes, they're not great, but they're still alive at least. A loss this week really dampens those hopes with a lot of really difficult games coming up. You got the Packers coming up, and of course the Seattle Seahawks, who are having an exceptional season with ex-Vikings quarterback Sam Darnold there as well. So it's a jam-packed show here today on the afternoon shift. We're really excited to bring it to you all. First, we want to promote our Instagram account. We're going to put up that graphic right now. It's at @afternoonshift_Fox9. Give it a follow if you can. We're putting out a lot of really great content there. We really appreciate any feedback that you have on there. Feel free to give us a DM, give us a shout out, tell us what you want us to cover. Maybe you have some questions that you'd like to ask Mayor Melvin Carter. DM us those questions. We'd love to ask the mayor on behalf of you, the loyal viewer of the Afternoon Shift. So give us a follow, @afternoonshift_Fox9. All right, let's get into some headlines here. I'm going to bring Paul back into the conversation here because, listen, if there's the biggest animal expert that we have, maybe not just on the afternoon shift, but in this entire building at Fox 9, Paul-Millgate is your guy. He is an avid supporter and patron of the Minnesota Zoo. And Paul, I understand that the zoo might be getting some new wolves here in a couple of days.
Yeah, look, we're getting wolf pups at Minnesota Zoo. The thing to bear in mind here is that even though they are pups, they're 6 months old, and so they actually look a lot more like a giant wolf than you would probably imagine. So don't think that you're going to end up going to the zoo and see these cute little, bundles of fluff running around. You're going to be seeing something that resembles kind of a fully grown looking wolf, but it's more in their behaviors when you get to go to the zoo. You'll see a big difference. Anyone that's been to the zoo recently and spent some time with the old wolf pack that were there, they were very sleepy, they were getting on in their years, they would sort of eat and then go to sleep, and then as soon as their off-exhibit habitat was available to them, they'd like to sneak back their creatures of habit. There's four of them, 2 males and 2 females, Flint and Fenrir.
Oh.
And 2 females, Lumi and Hattie. They've all been given northern names because of the fact that they come from North America.
Yes.
And Flint is a nod to the Gunflint Trail up north in Minnesota. Probably something you're not familiar with, but it's a very sort of famous area, the Gunflint Trail up there, so they're named after that. So yes, if you get to the Minnesota Zoo now, you're going to see 4 sort of rowdy pups that are going to eat and then play and then nap and then get up and play again.
Wow, sounds like a heck of a life they have.
Yeah.
That's an awesome life. And of course, it's great to bring some wolves into the Minnesota Zoo, celebrating the new season for the Timberwolves. I know it's not exactly the beginning of the season. They are several games in now, but these new wolves will be great to have at the zoo and, of course, bringing in this 2025-2026 Timberwolves season that we got going on.
Speaking of wolves, actually, I saw on Fox 9 on the website, actually, Ely, so that's a town up north. You're familiar with the name Ely?
I've heard that name before,
There was some footage. If you head to fox9.com, you'll actually see some footage that a police officer filmed in downtown Ely, with wolves running through the town. So,
wow.
they're very, very much an animal that's native to Minnesota, and so we do need to protect them and be aware of where they are and what we need to know about them, and that's why the Minnesota Zoo has them on the Minnesota Trail.
Absolutely. That is should be a really cool exhibit to check out at the Minnesota Zoo. If you haven't been there in a while, go give it a look. We had the opportunity to go there earlier this summer. We went and saw the bird show, saw a number of other things that's going on at the zoo. It really is very impressive. So folks, if you haven't been in the Minnesota Zoo yet, go. It's open 365 days out of the year. I couldn't believe it when I asked that. I was like, there's no way this is open in the middle of winter. No, it's open 365. Go give it a look. It really is some exceptional work that they're doing over there. Okay. Our second headline here. Earlier today on KFan Radio, Vikings wide receiver Adam Thielen called for full-time refs in the NFL and also said that refs are, and I quote Adam Thielen, kind of fanboys, end quote, and get starstruck when dealing with players like Patrick Mahomes, other superstar players of the world. This really started making some headwaves and headlines, not just here locally, but also nationally as well. I understand, and I'm not trying to come at this from the perspective of a lifelong Vikings fan, because I am not that. But from the vibe I get from a lot of Vikings fans is they do feel like they end up on the short end of the stick when it does come to certain calls in the NFL. And it's been a frustrating season, I think, so far for the Vikings. It was certainly a frustrating game this past Sunday. So Adam Thielen had some choice words to say about the NFL officials that are out there. Personally, I did not know that NFL officials are only part-time employees. I guess it makes sense. The season is 18 weeks long, a couple buys in there, and then obviously the playoffs. But yeah, calling for full-time refs, but also saying that refs are, and again I quote, kind of fanboys.
Well, I don't know, maybe I don't understand this enough, but maybe you can break it down to me. Like, what would change that if they were full-time employees? Like, what would that do?
I'm not really sure, because they are paid very, very, very well, and to get to the level of being an NFL official, it's a very highly selective group of people that get to that cusp. There's thousands of officials that want to get to that realm that just don't make it there. So these are considered the very best American football officials in this country that are out there refereeing NFL games. Look, it's a little bit of a hot take, I suppose. I think it's a little bit more reflective maybe of how the Vikings season has been going. If the record would be different, I'm not so sure that Thielen's going to be singing the same song. I do think it's going to be very interesting on Sunday to see how the referees officiate, not just the Vikings, but specifically Adam Thielen on maybe some potential pass interference plays, knowing that he said what he said today.
Bit of a target on his back now.
Yeah, and again, called them, quote, fanboys, kind of fanboys. He has maybe put a little bit of a target on his back, but again, these NFL referees are so professional. I don't think that they're going to be incorporating any sort of bias into their officiating. And
we were looking at some rough part-time salaries for it, and I don't think you'd want to risk what you've got it pretty sweet.
Yes.
And I don't think you want to risk that by playing fanboys, but I don't know.
I think the referees in the NFL generally do a really great job. I don't know if Vikings fans necessarily want to hear that, but I don't think that they're out to, quote unquote, get anybody or, quote unquote, get any team. I think they're trying to do the fairest, best job that they possibly can do. This whole story just reminds me to further promote the Vikings game on Sunday, which you can watch right here on Fox 9. Pregame coverage starts at 9:30. Don Mitchell will be out at US Bank Stadium. Kickoff is slated for noon against the Chicago Bears, who the Vikings did beat earlier this year in Week 1. The Vikings are undefeated in the division, despite their less than desirable under 500 record, still undefeated in the division. All right, we are going to get on with today's show. Like I said earlier, we have the president of the Minnesota Gun Owners Law Center, Mr. Rob Dorr, coming on the show. Coming up next to talk about this new ordinance that's been passed by the city of St. Paul, which restricts assault-style weapons and high-capacity magazines. Our conversation with Rob Dorr coming up right after this. Welcome back to the afternoon shift. The Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus is suing the city of St. Paul after their city council unanimously passed an ordinance that restricts assault-style weapons and high-capacity magazines. Joining us now is the president of the Minnesota Gun Owners Law Center, Mr. Rob Dorr. Mr. Dorr, welcome to the afternoon shift. How are you, sir?
Thanks, Adam. Good to be here.
It's good to have you here. Rob, what is your stance on this issue with what the city of St. Paul's city council unanimously passed?
I mean, they violated state law. It's just as simple as that. They don't have the authority to pass this ordinance, to take up this ordinance. And that's why the Gun Owners Caucus and the Law Center is filing lawsuit.
I think one of the chief reasons why that they even got into these conversations in the first place and why they developed a coalition with 17 other cities, it was really sparked by the Annunciation Catholic School shooting back in August. In light of that, I guess my next question to you is, what would you tell the parents of those children that were affected by that were impacted by that really pushed to see some gun control laws passed, not just in the city of St. Paul, but in cities across the state of Minnesota?
Well, every citizen is free to, lobby their state legislators to try to get change at the state level. The cities can do that. The cities can pass resolutions. The cities can use their own lobbying efforts to try to advance whatever agenda they want. But the answer to this is not to violate state law in order to try to cram through an ordinance that you don't have the authority to put through.
What percentage of Minnesota gun owners do you think would have their guns outlawed by this new ordinance that's passed, which, again, it's restricting assault-style weapons and high-capacity magazines?
Yeah, as well as privately manufactured firearms. So a firearm that somebody built themselves, it bans the possession of those as well. There's really no way to know. We certainly have dozens of members who have reached out to us who live in St. Paul, many more who work in St. Paul or go to St. Paul to participate in the legislative process that would be affected by this ordinance.
We keep kind of talking about this ordinance, and I guess I provided an overarching explanation of it. In your words, what exactly does this ordinance mean? How would you break it down?
Well, what they're telling us is, one, they're saying it bans the public possession, but that's not what the text of the ordinance says. And secondarily, they're acting as if it's okay to pass an ordinance that they're not allowed to if they promise not to enforce it. And that's not what the law says. The preemption law says any city ordinance that encroaches on the state's preemption of firearms is void, regardless of whether or not they intend to enforce it.
And you said there that, you're not even sure that they're able to enforce it. Why do you think the city council would want to pass something like this?
Well, I think it's a symbolic measure. I think that they likely anticipate. We told them we would be suing them if they advanced it. We offered alternative mechanisms that are within the law that they could do to try to advance their agenda. But it seems like they're more than willing to spend taxpayer resources and taxpayer dollars defending an ordinance that they admit they don't intend on enforcing, even if the language seems to indicate otherwise.
And one of the pieces of language that's in the ordinance is restricting assault-style weapons. Do you think that that's a fair term? What exactly is an assault-style weapon? What is the difference between that and maybe just an average gun that would be okay with this ordinance?
Well, generally, they're referring to any modern rifles that have been designed in the last 50 years. The people think of AR-15s; those qualify, but there's many non-AR-15 rifles that would also meet this classification. Many of which are used by thousands of hunters across the state. So there is a definition in statute that it has to have a certain number of features. But at the end of the day, fewer than 5 homicides every year in Minnesota are done with rifles of any type. So even if a ban did work, which I would challenge the supposition that it would, it's not going to be a tremendous impact on public safety.
What do you think is sort of driving for them to create an ordinance like this? I know I mentioned the Annunciation shooting there back in August. Do you think that citizens, and you mentioned that they use these assault-style weapons for hunting purposes, do you think that citizens should own them for non-hunting purposes?
Yeah, it's their property that's protected by the Second Amendment. Any firearm that's in common use, that's the holding in DC versus Heller, is protected by the Second Amendment. So they're undoubtedly in common use. They're the most popular rifle in America, and therefore they're protected by the Second Amendment. And I think there's a lot of people who look at their style of it and the features of it and feel a certain way. But again, they're very, very rarely used in the day-to-day crimes that we see. Overwhelmingly, even when we're talking about mass shootings, it's handguns that are used in the vast majority of those.
Rob, a personal question for you. Do you own a gun that would not fly under this new ordinance in the city of St. Paul?
Yeah, as do most of our members.
So, and I guess my follow-up question to you is, what is the usage that you get out of that gun? Is it used for hunting purposes, or do you have it for maybe other purposes as well?
Yep, I've got those of the people who are watching who understand firearms, I've got a 300 Blackout, which I use for deer hunting, which is in this platform style. But what makes AR-15 so popular isn't that they're military style or whatever label somebody wants to put on them. It's that they're modular. They're basically you accessorize them to whatever it best fits you. And the reason why the military adopted them is because of that modularity. You can adjust them very easily for shooters of different arm lengths, shooters of different sizes. I could take my son, who's 1.5 feet shorter than me, with 2 adjustments of my rifle. It fits him very perfectly, and he can shoot very safely. So they're used for sporting purposes. They're used for hunting. They're used for plinking. But at the end of the day, they are still in common use and protected by the Second Amendment.
Shortly after the Annunciation tragedy, a number of parents of students that were affected had the opportunity to meet with Vice President Vance and his wife, and many of them kind of came out and were really calling for more stricter gun control laws, much like the ordinance that we're seeing passed in the city of St. Paul. If you were to have a one-on-one with one of those Annunciation parents who maybe had their child shot, maybe had their child killed, maybe just had their child inside that church when it happened, what would be your message to them in a one-on-one conversation when they were directly impacted by this?
Yeah, I mean, I testified earlier when the Senate, Minnesota Senate held their gun violence working group. There's a lot of solutions that we can do that get a lot of common ground that would prevent things like this from happening. Strengthening schools. I'm not talking about turning them into fortresses. I'm talking about smart technology enhancements, environmental infrastructure upgrades to make sure that an attack is mitigated, and if an attack does happen, that it's controlled very quickly, met with quick and effective counter force. But additionally, looking upstream to see what can we do to identify these people who are in crisis and connect them with resources. The shooter at Annunciation didn't only have an AR-15, he had a shotgun and 2 handguns as well. I don't think any person would take solace in their loved one being lost by a different type of firearm. We're much more interested in identifying ways that we can look upstream to identify those people who are in crisis and make sure that we can connect them to resources to prevent any crisis, regardless of the weapon used, from happening.
Let's bring it back to gun owners. You are the president of the Minnesota Gun Owners Law Center. What do gun owners need to know? Maybe gun owners that perhaps are watching this show that reside in the city of St. Paul. What do they need to know going forward in light of this ordinance?
Yeah, I think it is really unclear. The ordinance has several different ways that it states it can be enacted. One says that it's enacted within 30 days of the mayor's signature. Another says that it's enacted when preemption is repealed. And another provision says that it's enacted whenever a substantially similar state law. This creates a huge amount of confusion about when and how law enforcement is going to actually enforce this. So I think people need to take precaution with the firearms that they own and the way that they carry them in light of this ordinance, because it's incredibly unclear how it's going to be enforced. And additionally, there's other cities coming down the pike. Edina has announced that they're going to be moving forward on a similar ordinance.
So let's just, hypothetically speaking, let's say that law enforcement does enforce this ordinance to the full effective measure. What happens to those guns of those people that live in St. Paul that maybe have a gun that is outlawed by this ordinance? Where do those guns go?
The ordinance says that they get forfeited to law enforcement.
Understood. And that would be true for other cities as well that would adopt a similar ordinance. So with these residents that have these guns, if they want to keep these guns, they would, in theory, have to move their residences out of those cities, correct?
Yeah, or remove their property out of the city in order to comply with the ordinance. It's just a very gray area because it was so poorly drafted that it's very unclear when and how it becomes enforceable.
Later in today's show, Rob, we're talking to the mayor of St. Paul, Melvin Carter. Of course, his tenure is ending in several weeks here. What would be your message to him in light of this ordinance? I know that this ordinance was a massive part of one of his agenda items, in this calendar year.
Yeah, it was interesting in the debates earlier. Representative Herr, who actually ended up winning the election to become the next mayor, pointed out that said that this was very, I think she said, super performative on Mayor Carter's part, which I would agree with that assessment. It seems illogical to expend city resources defending an ordinance which he states he doesn't plan on actually enforcing. That leads me to believe either they are doing this for those performative reasons, or there is some very impending way that they intend on enforcing it. I'd also just say that he really needs to familiarize himself with the language of the ordinance. He has said that it bans public possession of firearms. It bans all possession of these particular firearms and accessories. When you look at the language of the ordinance. Additionally, he keeps saying that state law only prevents him from enforcing it. And that's not the case. State law states that this ordinance is void.
What's next with this lawsuit that you all have going against the city of St. Paul? Where do you think this is going, and what do you think is the most likely outcome?
Yeah, I think I think the city will probably try some procedural maneuvers to try to get it tossed. Things like standing or ripeness. I think we successfully argued those in our complaint about why we do have standing and why the case is ripe for judicial intervention. But if it goes on the merits, is what it's called, when a judge actually evaluates whether the ordinance complies with state law, it will absolutely fail. So they might have a chance if they get a sympathetic judge who doesn't believe that there's a procedural path forward for this, but if it gets to the merits, it's unquestionable that it's going to be struck down.
Rob Dorr, again, the president of the Minnesota Gun Owners Law Center, clearly very passionate about this issue. This organization is working on protecting rights that you all have. Do you think that the state is better because of the gun laws that we have, or do you think that we need further reform in your heart?
Minnesota consistently ranks in the bottom 10 states in firearm deaths. And in Minnesota, 80% of our firearm deaths are suicides. So even among those, our homicide rate is particularly low. We're one of the safest states in the country. There's a lot of things that can be done to address suicides. Most of them happen in greater Minnesota. Most of them are, older white men. And they're people who are generally adverse to trying to seek help for their mental illnesses or just general depression that they might be having. There's a lot of things that we can do, but one thing that isn't going to affect those people at all, because they're not prohibited persons, is passing a sweeping suite of gun laws to make a dent in the 80% of the causes of our gun deaths. I hope that we can look broader into the root causes of firearm deaths and address those root causes, rather than acting on some false presumption that if we ban a particular firearm, that's going to enhance public safety. The United States and Minnesota has never been good at prohibiting anything, whether you're talking about firearms, whether you're talking about narcotics, whether you're talking about alcohol during Prohibition. We're not good at prohibiting things. We need to think of broader solutions that attack the root causes.
Rob Dorr, the president of the Minnesota Gun Owners Law Center. Rob, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Adam. Anytime.
Thanks. We'll have more to come from the afternoon shift after this. Like I said in the interview with Rob, Mayor Melvin Carter will be joining us at 3:45. But first, we're going to be joined live in studio by Tony Liebert, a sports writer for Bring Me the News, to preview tonight's big matchup in Eugene, Oregon, between the Golden Gophers and the 8th-ranked Oregon Ducks. That's coming up next. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the afternoon shift. It is a big night for football here on Fox 9. The Gophers are in Eugene, Oregon to take on the 8th-ranked Oregon Ducks. Here to preview tonight's game is Gophers sports reporter for Bring Me the News, Mr. Tony Liebert. Tony, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always fun to talk a little Gophers.
I love that you're in here in studio with us. Listen, Tony, it's a huge point spread tonight, 25.5 points. What do the Gophers need to do to at least cover this spread, maybe keep it a little close, and maybe even get the outright money line win there, right?
Yeah, I think it really just comes down to that they don't really have anything to lose in this game. Oregon is expected to win by a lot of points based on that point spread, and they're playing for much more in terms of the college football playoff and seeding. And the Gophers are playing for just a better bowl game. And Oregon has much more to lose in this game, and Minnesota, I think, needs to play like a team that doesn't have anything to lose, because Oregon has matchup advantages all across the field.
Yeah, I think this might be a little bit of a look-ahead spot for Oregon, right? They have USC next week. Obviously, that game could have huge playoff expectations on it. For Minnesota, coming into this week, 6-3. 2 of the wins were versus Northwestern State and Buffalo. Obviously, a win tonight is huge. One of the biggest wins in program history if they're able to get it done tonight.
Oh, yeah.
even with a loss tonight and in the next two games, Northwestern and Wisconsin, are you viewing this season as a success for Minnesota football?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I looked at this Oregon game preseason. Like you mentioned, they have USC next week. They had Iowa last week. The Gophers had the extra bye coming into this game, and it kind of seemed like a spot that they might be a little competitive. But coming off that Michigan State game where it didn't look very pretty, and that was coming off an Iowa game where it certainly didn't look pretty at all. There were just a lot of trends offensively that make it hard for me to think that they're going to be competitive in this game against Oregon when they haven't scored a touchdown on the road since week 3 against Cal. And, I mean, overall, you can't complain about having 6 wins, and you can't complain about winning football games. And any Gophers fan would say that a 7 or an 8 win season preseason would be exceeding expectations for this team. But the way it's happened has just been a little unique with the blowout losses to Ohio State and Iowa, and then losing to Cal on the road. Depending how this game happens or how it comes to be in terms of upset or what happens in this game, I think we'll add to that. But overall, it's I think you kind of have to let all 12 games play out to see a true meaning on the season.
You've been a little critical of the Minnesota offense. Got into a little bit of a back and forth with former Minnesota quarterback Tanner Morgan.
Yep.
What was that beef all about? Can you get into that?
Yeah, I love Tanner. I respect his opinion a ton. He's a super nice guy. Can't say enough good things about him. And it just it's interesting after a game like the Michigan State game where there just was a lot of the offense hasn't played well. They were outgained against Michigan State, outgained against Purdue, outgained against Rutgers, and they won all 3 of those games. Mm-hmm. And I think P.J. Fleck and his program deserve credit for winning those games, but I think the offense is doing a lot of things that just aren't working right now. And that was basically what I was pointing out, that statistically they're one of the worst offenses in the Big Ten. Like I mentioned, they haven't scored on the road since September. Or scored a touchdown on the road since September.
No touchdowns on the road in nearly 2 months.
Yeah. They scored 3 points against Iowa and 3 points against Ohio State, and it just the numbers are not backing up that they're performing to a level that they should be this far into a head coach's tenure like PJ Fleck. So that's basically all I was pointing out, and I totally get where Tanner Morgan was coming from in terms of he's very closer with the staff than I am, and I wouldn't ever necessarily say that someone should get fired or call in for anyone's job, but it's just they're not executing at a level that I think deserves praise at this moment, and I think it deserves a little bit of criticism.
Do you think that PJ Fleck is the right guy for Minnesota long term?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I've always been under the belief I think he should be the head coach as long as he wants at this school. And, I mean, it's just online. You get a lot of comments. And it's just sometimes that I guess you can criticize a head coach without saying that they should lose their job. Yeah. And that's basically all I was doing, that I think there are a lot of rooms for improvement, and they're much closer to being a 3-6 football team than like an 8-1 or 8-2 football team. And that's basically all I was pointing out, that they've scraped by in these games while still having a lot of concerning trends. And it's an interesting thing because you watch the whole game and they didn't play well against Michigan State, but they had a Big Ten win. Yeah. And you deserve credit for getting Big Ten wins. And it's just what do you want to get stacked up against? Against the Iowa game, that's one of your big rivals. That was a measuring stick game, and it seems like they're further away from catching up to Iowa than they were even before P.J. Fleck was hired.
And then now the Gophers will come out and stop Oregon, and then all of this will be put to rest, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've been wrong before, and I'd happily be wrong this time. But I don't necessarily see a path to that happening. I think it could be a game where Oregon controls much of the game, and maybe the Gophers stick around early, but it's just Oregon's a much deeper team. The Gophers have been dealing with some injuries the last couple of weeks. Maybe the bye week helped them get healthy, but I think Oregon will just wear them out as the game goes on, and it's hard for me to see Minnesota being competitive in this game. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but
Tony Lieber. No, you're not the bearer of bad news. You're a realist, and I like your realism. You did write recently on a positive note that Minnesota is on a recruiting heater right now.
Yes.
With PJ Fleck. Can you talk about some of the guys that are coming into the fold here in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, that's to be on a positive note. I think from a pure talent acquisition standpoint, I think the program's never been in a better spot. They're recruiting at a level that they really never have in the modern era of the internet and all these recruiting rankings stuff. And right now, their 2026 recruiting class is top 30 in the country, which is something they've never done under PJ Fleck. And there's a lot that could happen between now and early National Signing Day in December, but it's trending really well. In the last few commitments they got, they had an offensive lineman who was committed to Ohio State, decommitted, and then decided to commit to Minnesota. Aaron Thomas, a very talented player from Arizona. And then they're also going with the JUCO route. They brought in the number one JUCO transfer wide receiver in the country, Derek Salley Jr., and they added a safety and a defensive lineman as well. And it's just overall, there's a lot of intriguing signs in terms of talent acquisition. And that kind of just goes back to my previous point that I think right now, Gophers football from a roster standpoint has really never been more talented. And then it's just when they have performances like they do against Iowa and Michigan State, I think it deserves to come with a little criticism.
Yeah, absolutely. And I bet it's hard as a Minnesota fan to see a program like Indiana, for example, which is historically very average, below average at football, have the success that they're having right now, ranked number 2 in the country, and going into a place like Penn State and having a big win there. And, I'm sure that's got to be a little frustrating.
Yeah, exactly. And it's Kurt Cignetti in Indiana, I think, is going to completely change how a lot of coaches and programs attack college football because Indiana was the doormat of the Big Ten, and now they're in the elite class. And I don't think Minnesota – I'm not expecting them to be Indiana and compete for Big Ten championships, but – your measuring stick is programs like Iowa, and they came up very short in that game. It didn't really have a competitive effort. And then it just the following week scraping by a team like Michigan State, and then it's interesting. I don't really even know how I feel about the team, to be honest, because it has been an interesting year because they were outplayed in a lot of these games against teams that are in the bottom half of the Big Ten, and you don't want to apologize for winning. They won the games. But it's just when you look a little deeper, there's just a lot of things that might not be a good sign.
Quickly, before we let you go, final score prediction tonight.
I think I had 31-3. I could see a low-scoring game, kind of continuing the trend that they got a field goal against Ohio State and Iowa. I think if Darius Taylor plays, they might be able to put together a touchdown drive, but Oregon is a really good defense, and I think one of the best teams in the country, and I think the Gophers are going to have their hands full.
Tony Lieber from Bring Me the News. Tony, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming in studio.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you. Coming up next here on the afternoon shift, we have Mayor Melvin Carter of the city of St. Paul joining us live. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back here to the afternoon shift. We believe we have fixed all of our technical difficulties. We're going to start right from the top. St. Paul City Council unanimously passed a comprehensive gun violence prevention ordinance earlier this week. This was one of the chief pieces of legislation that Mayor Melvin Carter wanted to see pass forward. Joining us now is the man himself, the mayor of St. Paul, Mr. Melvin Carter. Melvin Carter, welcome to the afternoon shift. How are you?
Hey, thanks so much. Thanks for having me on. I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
I'm good. And we can hear you now loud and clear. This is great. Hey, Mayor, what more can you tell us about this gun violence prevention package that was passed earlier this week?
Well, ultimately, there's two things to know about it. One, what it does is it says you can't have assault rifles and machine guns. You can't bring guns into libraries and rec centers. And every gun has to have a serial number. But two, what's important to know about that is that even those simple, basic things that most people think are the bare minimum of what we ought to do, the state law actually bans us from even doing, bans local communities from doing anything where guns are concerned. And so part of our goals are really twofold. One, it's to push the state, and we've told them we need you all to be either taking action to make us safer where guns are concerned, or we need you to eliminate those preemption requirements so the local communities can act. If they were to do that, our local ordinances would be ready to take effect on day one. If they're not willing to do anything different on guns, then we have to have a big statewide conversation about the absurdity of that.
Yeah, and one person that wants to have one of those conversations, we had a guest on earlier. He's the president of the Minnesota Gun Owners Law Center, Rob Dorr. He was pretty skeptical about the language in this ordinance. What would be your message to skeptics like Rob about some of the language that's in here?
Well, I haven't talked to him directly. From what I hear, he's essentially saying two things. One, that it's symbolic and meaningless. And two, that he's going to stop everything and spend a bunch of money getting attorneys and suing to try to keep us from stop us from doing what we're doing. I guess the question would be, if it was symbolic, why it requires that level of response to try to stop it from moving forward. But the truth is, we said from the beginning that we are barred from state law from enforcing these policies. State law says local communities can't enforce policies on guns, no matter how simple they are, no matter how common sense they are, no matter how many Minnesotans agree with them. And that is the problem.
Yeah. I listen, this is such a complex issue. So many people care so deeply about this. I know that the Annunciation Catholic School shooting back in August was sort of a chief sort of enzyme that kind of got the conversation started about this. Would you say that that's fair, that this conversation really started picking up steam really once that Annunciation tragedy happened back in August?
I think around this specific ordinance, yes. We're a city that does everything that we can to combat gun violence. That's why gun violence is down 70% in our city right now. It's because we haven't said, here's our one strategy, or here's our two offices that address gun violence. We've said this is all in, and it's something that all of us are responsible for. That's why we created a team of officers in St. Paul. If any gunshot wound gets treated like a homicide, you see our police officers do the exact same thing. It's why we partnered with the Attorney General's office to sue gun stores, to hold them responsible for helping us stop straw purchasing in our communities. We're doing every single thing that we can, and this is a part of it. So yes, it was absolutely accelerated by just the frustration that so many of us felt in the aftermath of that Annunciation shooting, when we had children in school, in a church. They were praying and had over 100 rounds rain in on them through a stained glass window. This sounds like it's a Quentin Tarantino movie, but unfortunately it's real life. And the point is, anybody who's not willing to do something different after hearing that story isn't on our team.
Mayor Carter, we have a viewer right now that's DMing us, asking us, why hasn't the mayor signed into law this ordinance yet? What would be your response to that viewer?
Oh, why? Don't worry, we will sign it into law. There's so many people that have been a part of it, making this happen. And so we want to bring some of those folks in and be a part of that celebration with us signing it into law. So, but don't worry, I have it on good authority. The mayor supports it, and we'll be signing it into law.
Your tenure as mayor is ending in about 6 weeks here or so. Mayor Carter, there's some number of questions I want to ask you about your term and your tenure as mayor of St. Paul. Would you say this gun ordinance, is this top 5 sort of accomplishment that you would say that you felt like you've achieved as mayor?
Oh, I don't know. Probably not the ordinance. To be able to say we reduced gun violence by 70%, that's a big number. I always wish there was a headline, I always wish you guys ran a front page story every time nobody got shot in our city. But I guess that's not the way news works. So that's exciting to me, being able to say that. We launched a college savings accounts initiative that starts every child born in our city with $50 in college savings accounts. We've raised the minimum wage. We've done a lot of stuff that I'm really proud of. I guess I don't know. I don't have a top 5 picked. We're kind of focused on, we got a bunch of stuff to do through the remaining of this year, finish negotiating the budget with the city council and do some of the transition related work. So we've been a little focused on that stuff. We haven't even signed this ordinance into law yet.
But it's certainly on the list of things to do before your term expires here. Yeah.
Don't worry, it'll absolutely get signed into law.
Mayor Carter, you're the mayor of St. Paul. What do you want people to remember your legacy as? You've been the mayor there since 2018. You're born and raised in the city. How do you want people to remember you by?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I guess to me, it's always the story of this city, you know? And so if you're going to remember me by something, remember me by picking up some trash on your block, remember me by helping a kid out, remember me by, chipping in or go hanging out at the rec center, just using all the stuff that we've invested in. As though it belongs to you. That's what I always tell young folks. We're really excited. One of the things we're doing right now is really picking up all of our, we've doubled our investments to rebuild our streets and rebuild our aging infrastructure. We're building playgrounds all over the city. And, to me, this city belongs to the people who live in it. And if they continue to treat it as though it's theirs, with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities therein, then we'll feel good about the work that we did.
Mayor Carter, I know you have a relationship, a close working relationship with Mayor-elect her. What's your message to her? Now we're about 10 days removed from Election Day. What would be your message to Mayor-elect her as she begins her tenure as the new mayor of St. Paul?
Listen to the city. Trust the city. This is a complex city, and some of the things that we love about our past are in paradox sometimes with some of the things that we hope about our future, and being able to kind of have deep conversations with this community, being willing to have tough conversations with this community, I think is a challenge. It's always fun to say yes to folks when they want us to say yes to something, and it's a job of leaders to say, hey, it doesn't work that way, or we're going to have to find a different approach when that's necessary. And that's something we've tried to do over the past several years. But she's coming in with her own vision, with her own leadership, with her own support. So it's kind of fun to see what direction she'll take with it.
You've been mayor since January 2nd, 2018. There's no vacation when you're the mayor of a city. You might go somewhere, but you're always still the mayor of St. Paul. You're always on the clock. What's that last day going to be like for you, Mayor? How is that going to feel? I'm sure it's got to be a very surreal moment.
Oh, I have no idea, honestly. I mean, that's one of the amazing things about this journey is you almost never know what a day is going to bring. When I started this, my wife would ask me, what are you going to do today? And that question evolved to what's on your calendar as of 8 o'clock a.m., because that might change dramatically by 10 o'clock a.m. So I really don't know. Like I said, our goal is to run through the tape. We have a lot of work left to do that we still kind of have to finish off. The central piece between now and the end of the year is finishing negotiating the budget for next year with our city council. So we'll be doing that very closely. And I imagine knowing this crew, knowing the team that we work with here in City Hall, we'll be trying to push something forward all the way through the finish line. Oh, but the last days we'll be hosting the World Juniors Hockey Championship. So that I do know what that'll look like. That'll look like 250,000 people in St. Paul from over a dozen different countries having an absolute blast. It might be a pretty fun way to close the whole thing.
And what a way to go out. That's going to be the last day. Your first day, not as the mayor anymore. What's next for you? Again, you're a lifelong resident of the city. You've served as mayor now for nearly 7 years. What's next? What happens when all of that is in the rearview mirror?
Yeah, I've served as mayor for nearly 8 years.
8 years, pardon me.
And through some of the most challenging crises our city's ever been through, whether that's COVID, the murder of George Floyd, whether that's the civil unrest that followed, whether that's the pandemic the pandemic, or the cyber attack that we had just a couple of months ago. So I imagine what's immediately next is a much lower blood pressure. Beyond that, I'm not sure.
You still think you'll be living in St. Paul?
Oh yeah, this is my city. I love this city.
Awesome. Mayor Melvin.
Where else would a guy live?
You know what? For a St. Paul guy born and raised, that's a good question to ask. And you're obviously very, very proud of where you're from. Have served as mayor now for 8 years. Always been a friend to us here at Fox 9, and certainly to the afternoon shift. Always making yourself accessible, answering questions, answering the tough questions. We really do appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. It was great to meet you at the Minnesota State Fair earlier this summer. Right. I just moved here to Minnesota, and so getting to talk to you in that one-on-one setting was really tremendous. And we really appreciate you and your entire staff, Jay Lohr, the whole team, coordinating today's interview, talking about this gun ordinance that you all just passed on Wednesday, and also talking about next steps as you conclude your tenure as mayor of St. Paul over these next several weeks. So we really appreciate your time. I
appreciate that. Get your pen ready, because we have a lot more talking to do about those gun ordinances, because we've got a coalition of, I think, just over 15, 16 cities and growing that are planning on passing them in their communities as well. We plan on putting a lot of pressure on keeping this conversation alive. We know that after mass shootings like that, folks sort of wait for folks' attention to get diverted to something else. We can demonstrate that we can have a long attention span and stay focused on this until we get something done at the Capitol.
And Mr. Mayor, most of the members of the St. Paul City Council cited you as probably the primary reason why they wanted to pass this. They passed this unanimously. What does that mean to you?
I don't know. It's good to pass it unanimously. That's, I think, really important. I'm proud of the relationship that we've had with the city council. Folks note that we haven't agreed on everything. Mm-hmm. That's actually how it's supposed to work. We're not supposed to agree on everything. We're supposed to have, vigorous debates in City Hall. We're supposed to kind of, hash through challenges and things like that. And I appreciate the governing partnership that we've had with them. And like I said, I expect them to continue to be incredible leaders for this city into the foreseeable future.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Your final several weeks here, we'd love to have you back on maybe once this passes and whatnot. Maybe we'll get you back in the month of December.
Sounds great.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor Carter. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Great conversation with the mayor of St. Paul, Mr. Melvin Carter. We really do appreciate his time. There's going to be much more coming up from the afternoon shift after this as we round into our 4 o'clock hour. Don't go anywhere. Joined by one of our good friends here, our top homie, Lauren Andrego.
Hello.
What's going on, Lauren?
Happy
How are you?
Friday.
Happy
It's so
Friday.
good to see you. Can you feel the Friday energy
I
in the
can
air?
feel the Friday. We usually have you in here on Thursdays, so
Oh,
this
yeah.
is like a different sort of thing we've got going on today.
It is. It's such a treat. And
Yeah.
Did you see the forecast for this weekend?
Listen, the forecast today looks amazing. But, I have a little bit of a hot take about this forecast this
yeah?
week. So many Minnesotans, you guys love your, sweater weather, but then you want to, enjoy the warm weather. It's like, you can't have it both ways.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I see there's a little hypocrisy here maybe.
Yeah.
But when you hear that this will probably be the warmest day of the year until April, you gotta enjoy it, right?
Is that today, Friday?
Today
we're talking?
could be the
Yes.
warmest day until April.
Wow.
Unless we get a weird winter heat wave, which also happens. But 68 degrees, going to be great to get out there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on this weekend.
Yes, and it's going to be warm this weekend, too.
Yes.
Or relatively warm this weekend.
Yeah, I think it's going to be beautiful weather for the Vikings to beat the Bears.
Oh.
Although indoors, so I guess that doesn't really matter. But if you're out and about in the Twin Cities, it's going to be gorgeous. And there is a lot going on as we get into the holiday season.
It is the holiday season. What's up?
Yesterday was day one of the Dayton's Holiday Market. I was there yesterday in downtown Minneapolis. Have you been to this? Have you heard of it?
That's on Nicollet Mall, right, with the Mary Tyler Moore statue.
Yes, where she threw that hat. Exactly.
Yes,
so Dayton's, which was one of the supreme shopping centers of the entire 1900s, started here in Minneapolis.
Yes.
Nicollet and 7th, that's where the Dayton's building opened in 1903.
Yep.
It had some transformations over the years as people stopped shopping in Minneapolis and went out to the suburbs, became Marshall Field's, became Macy's. In 2017, it closed. Sat dormant for a couple of years until after the pandemic, when there were efforts to bring back people to downtown Minneapolis. And so they wanted to bring the Dayton spirit back to Minneapolis. And that's why the Dayton's Holiday Market started. And it's back for the 5th year. Over 100 local vendors of small Minnesota businesses.
Okay.
So you can get all your Christmas shopping done there. There's apparel, there's Christmas decor, there's Christmas gifts, there's art, there's clothes, there's jewelry, stuff for the dogs, food and drinks. And it's a really fun experience to see what it was like to shop on Nicollet Mall in Dayton, something that we never got to experience.
I see old photos and these streets. It looks like Fifth Avenue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's crazy what it used to be. Not even too long ago, but really in the heyday of the 60s and the 70s. It was just everything was just happening there.
It kind of gives you FOMO to look at those old pictures and see what shopping used to be like. Yeah. And so you can go shop there daily through December 27th, and they're expanding this year to Southdale Mall in Edina, which is one of the greatest malls in the Twin Cities.
Not just one of the greatest malls in the Twin Cities, the first mall in the United States.
I was wondering if you knew that fun fact.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was America's first indoor shopping center, and it also had a Dayton's location back in the 50s. So they'll be opening up there as well next week through December. And there's a couple other new features to the Dayton's holiday experience. They're reopening Oak Street Grill as a pop-up restaurant at the original Dayton's location. This was a 12th floor restaurant. So you used to go get your shopping done. You could shop for the entire family, and then you'd go up to the 12th floor and eat at the Oak Grill. And they had chicken wild rice soup and popovers were their specialties, and they're serving up both of those.
I bet that chicken wild rice soup is
it's
probably
so good this time. Maybe not today, but when soup season comes, because we know it's around the corner. Earl Giles is also there making cocktails, so you can get a drink while you shop around. And it's the 40th anniversary of the Santa Bear. Have you heard of this phenomenon?
No, I have not heard of this one. Now.
So the Santa Bear is back. This was a Dayton's original teddy bear that you used to get for spending enough money while you go shopping. Now they're collectible. So it's the 40th anniversary. Some people have all 40 Santa Bears.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy. So you can make your pre-order for it now, pick it up on Black Friday. It's the $45 for the regular size bear, $70 for the large teddy bear. So they're a little expensive, but people love them.
This is like a very Minnesota Christmas
Yes.
thing. Like
Yeah.
this bear, like if you wanted to give that's like the ultimate Minnesota Christmas.
Yeah, I bet some people would really love
Yeah,
that. It's
yeah.
very nostalgic for a lot of people. And as you walk down Nicollet Mall, even if you don't go shopping, they have their iconic window displays. So you can go and see all the old Santa Bears down the window displays, which is really cute if you're in
cool.
downtown Minneapolis.
Yes. Yeah, that sounds super interesting. I might have to check that out this
You should.
weekend.
If you
Yeah.
have some Christmas shopping to do, you can get
Yes.
it boom, 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 all done in one stop.
Are you a big in-person Christmas shopping person?
I am, unfortunately. I've done most of my Christmas shopping so far online.
Already?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know.
What?
I know.
It's not even Thanksgiving yet.
I know, but I like to just buy a couple gifts at a time so then I don't have to, because my Christmas list is like, it's expanding. I got a lot of people I'm shopping for now. I don't want to
Wow.
do it all in one
Yeah.
day, all in one paycheck. I want to spread that out, let it breathe. And I've gotten to the point now where I know if I see something online that works for someone, I'm going to buy it right
Yeah.
now and just check it off the list. So I have done a little bit of online shopping. I will be going back to Dayton's Holiday Market to finish off that list.
Most of my Christmas shopping is just like my favorite chocolate. So I just give boxes of chocolate.
that's
from that.
nice.
So I love C's candies, so I just give them
Oh,
that. So,
nice.
Yeah, it's great stuff,
That's
yeah.
really good, and honestly,
Yeah.
people appreciate
It's
that,
consistent,
I think.
yes,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about some other events. Southeast Minnesota, Rochester Pickle Palooza.
Oh.
Do you like pickles?
I do like pickles. We were
do?
having, Grace and I, we were having this conversation maybe last Friday. We were at the sandwich shop and they had pickled chips and pickle witch and whatever.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
I was saying I really like pickle, but I know it's a little bit of a hot take for some people.
Sometimes. Well, I just think there's pickle everything.
Yeah.
I don't like pickles. I know that's like controversial. I just don't like them, but I know people who love them.
Yeah.
And if you do, you should head down to Rochester for Pickle Palooza tonight.
Oh.
4 to 8 p.m.
Yeah.
at Kinney Creek Brewery. They're going to be serving up one of their most popular beers. It's the Dill Lager.
Oh. I probably would like this.
You'd like a pickle beer?
Yeah,
That's
just
a lot
one,
of
though.
pickle. Yeah,
Just
just one.
one.
I think you're absolutely
Just
right
one,
on that.
yeah,
They'll
yeah.
they'll have a bunch of pickle themed foods for
Yeah.
you. Pickle eating contest, pickle trivia,
Oh, okay.
and it's a kid friendly event. So you'll be hanging out in a brewery, but bring the whole family. 4 to 8 tonight.
You like
in
fried
Rochester.
pickles?
That is the one form of pickle that I will probably tolerate,
Yeah.
especially the really good ones, because some people do it really well.
That's right. You got to get the chips, not the spears. Some
100%.
people like to fry the spear. It's not the same.
Because that's like wet on the inside, and that doesn't work
Yes.
for fried food,
Yes.
in my opinion. You do your thing. But yeah, if you get the really thinly sliced pickle chips with like more breading than pickle,
Yes.
I think that works for me.
With a good little remoulade. You guys probably do ranch up here.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, that's all good stuff.
Yeah, fancy. Okay, so you're going to Pickle Fest.
No.
Then you're going to head on Highway 14, head east to Highway 61, and then drive into the city of Winona
Okay.
for Mama Mania.
Mamma Mania. Is this like Mamma Mia kind of?
ABBA tribute concert. Yeah.
I like this.
So I just learned that there is a North American Mamma Mania tour.
Okay.
That's been going on for years. They
Yeah.
pick it back up and they go all across the continent
Yeah.
to talk about ABBA, which I don't know. Did you know that ABBA was discovered at Eurovision?
No, I
Yeah.
didn't. You know what? I think maybe Paul said something about that
Yeah.
several months ago.
Yeah, that's where they got their start.
That's incredible.
Which is
That's
kinda
like
cool, back in
American
the
Idol
70s.
kind of, right?
Yeah, but it's like all of Europe competes and
All of
every
Europe, that's
country
right.
has its own band.
That's right.
And and ABBA won at some point in the 70s.
Yeah.
So this whole tour is made up of current and former touring members of the North American Mamma Mania tour. It's happening tonight at 7 at the HBP Theater. That's at St. Cecilia in Winona. Starting at 7 o'clock. This is the #1 booked ABBA cover band in the country.
I love that. And just a little inclusion here. St. Cecilia, the patroness saint of music. So the fact that ABBA is happening at the St. Cecilia Center, it's just like it kind of works all together.
I
so.
love that you have that anecdote to share. Do you have a favorite ABBA song?
Dancing Queen,
Yeah, that's a
right?
good
But
one.
that's kind of that's the classic. I don't know if I honestly probably could name. I probably heard other
Yeah,
ABBA
you
songs,
could. Yeah, you could.
But Dancing
Mamma
Queen.
Mia.
Yeah. Oh,
Here
sure.
I go. And
Sure.
gimme, gimme, gimme.
Yes.
a man. That's one's my
Yes.
favorite. That's the one I request at weddings.
Okay.
There's so many good ones.
Yes. Dancing
Super
Queen.
Trooper.
I love Dancing Queen.
Yeah.
Timeless song. They'll be singing
Timeless
that
songs.
100 years from now.
Very few tickets still available for Mamma Mania, starting at $30. You can go online to find those.
I love that.
And then let's head right up 35. Actually, take historic Highway 61 from Winona to Red Wing to Hastings, all the way up to Duluth.
Yes.
For the Festival of Trees.
Okay.
Back for its 37th year at the Duluth Entertainment and Convention Center. They have all sorts of stuff going on between now and Christmas. But this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, it's their largest craft show of the year. Arts, crafts, and gifts. Get all your Christmas shopping done.
Yep.
Starting Saturday morning, there are over 170 unique vendors, and most of them are northern Minnesota based, so really local shopping.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, Adam. I try to do as much local shopping as I can during the holidays because the money that you're spending is staying here in Minnesota for next year, which now more than ever is very important.
Yeah.
Auction, raffles, Christmas music will be playing all day, and Santa will be there.
I love that. I love that. You can get pictures with the big guy out. That's awesome. That's awesome.
A really pretty time to be in Duluth, especially around Canal Park. A lot of stuff is lit up. And then, wow, the name is escaping me. Grace, what is the Duluth Christmas Lights Festival called?
You get the wrong person.
No, why can't I think of it? It's the. Oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing that I don't remember what it's
race
called.
between you and Grace to see who's more Minnesota here.
Lights, Bentleyville, thank you.
Oh,
Yeah,
same
Bentleyville.
time.
Why did I
time of the
forget
year.
that?
Yes.
Bentleyville, the tour of it's like the largest free holiday lights show in the country.
Okay.
Or maybe in the world.
Oh, wow.
It's huge. You can spend a whole evening there. That'll be opening up shortly before Thanksgiving.
I love that. I love that. I got to get up there. If there's one Minnesota city outside of the Twin Cities, I got to make it to. I've always said Duluth.
You really should, and do it before the roads get bad, because that could be a treacherous drive if the roads are icy.
Yes, yeah, probably
skip that.
avoid that.
Yeah.
Avoid that. Grandma's Marathon, of course, is in Duluth.
Oh yeah, so if you want to go there in the summer, that's a good time. But the great thing about Duluth is they really go out for every holiday. They go all out, and the whole city gets involved.
Yeah.
Superior Street is really awesome. They also have a great theater scene. So if you want to go up, you can make a whole weekend out of it, basically any time of year.
Yeah.
But the deck is really fun, and it's very conveniently located.
A little bonus here. I know you saw Purple Rain.
Yeah.
Maybe you're just sort of your brief synopsis of how you like that.
Yeah. Okay, so let me start full disclosure. I never saw Purple Rain, the movie.
Sure.
Have you seen it?
No, I have not.
Okay,
no.
so I didn't know. I didn't know exactly what to expect as far as this story. Here's what I'll say. Abalonia, who's the female lead, knocked it out of the park. One of the most, Grace just said amazing in her ear. She agrees. Stellar performance. She's been on Broadway before, and you could tell.
Yeah.
I would go watch 10 more shows that she was in. I don't care what the show is. I'll go watch her. The guy who plays Prince, I'm not remembering the actor's name right now. He's, I believe, from here and brand new to theater.
Okay.
So amazing singer, was a pretty convincing Prince. He had kind of that like stoic, quiet confidence that I think Prince embodied very well, and he sang like Prince.
Okay.
The show has some technical issues that they need to work out. It's a very long show.
Okay.
It's 3 hours, which I think by most people's standards is too long for a musical.
Yeah.
They cut it down, though, from 4 hours to 3 hours in just a couple of weeks. So they're making those tweaks.
Yeah.
There were just a couple other sound and tech issues that I think are being worked out. So if you go see it at State Theater, which is one of the most gorgeous theaters I've ever been to, just know that they're making tweaks all the time because their goal is to bring the show to Broadway.
That's right.
There always are kinks in the show that need to be worked out, especially with a brand new cast. A lot of these folks brand new to doing like an off-Broadway show. But I really liked it. I loved the costumes. I loved the music. At one point in the second act, they bring down a screen that's like the length of the stage, and then they've got a guy out there with a Steadicam on stage. So he's getting, you know, when you're at a theater, you usually only have a football field's length away between you and the actors. You're seeing Prince's face up close live as if you're at a concert, which was
That's awesome.
a really cool part of it.
So cool.
I love theater. I love every show I've ever been to. I know some folks are saying that this one felt a little slow, a little mechanical. It needs to be polished, but I thought it was really fun. And if you like Prince, you will like this show.
Amazing. I've seen the ads. I've walked past the State Theater with all the decorations on the marquee and everything, and really want to go check it out.
You should.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know you and Grace and among others were there at opening night.
Yeah,
Which was awesome.
It was very awesome.
Very cool. Lauren, thank you so much for all
Absolutely.
the things happening this weekend. Get outside, enjoy the warm weather, and there's events all across the land of 10,000 lakes here that you laid out.
And we're headed into holiday market season, so soon enough, every town will have a holiday bar and a holiday market.
I love it. I love it. Lauren Andrego, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you. More to come from the afternoon shift right after this. On Fox 9, obviously the Gophers game is tonight, and on Sunday beginning at 9:30 a.m. we have Vikings pregame coverage, all leading up to the game against the Bears beginning at noon right here on Fox 9. We have this little series that we call Behind Enemy Lines, where we bring in a opposing team's reporter or a contributor for the opposing team. Today, we are pleased to be rejoined by Fox 32 sports anchor and reporter Tina Nguyen. Tina, welcome to the afternoon shift. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was so fun joining you guys week one. Oh my gosh, when the Bears and Vikings played each other Monday Night Football, and it's great to be back again. This is such a huge game for both teams, so I'm so excited to dive into it.
Awesome. And it was a great time with you week one as well. Can you just tell us where you're joining us from? We see the Bears logo behind you. I think you're inside historic Hallis Hall. Tell the people what that's all about.
Yes, I am inside Hallis Hall right now. You see the Bears logo here in the background. We're getting ready to hear Ben Johnson talk in just a few moments. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hype around this team right now, right? They're 6-3 on the season. These last two games, the way that they've won and the fashion with Caleb Williams and his late game heroics. A lot of buzz right now around this team. I was talking to some of the guys in the locker room last week, DJ Moore, and I asked him, what's been the biggest difference this season? Obviously, you were on the team last year that lost 10 straight, right? And he said, I mean, this year, one big difference has been the team. They're overall closer with each other, but that relationship between the players and the coaching staff too has made a huge difference, right? They're closer. They take that tough coaching really well too. So, and this is a team, right? They want to win games. And they've got the head coach, right, Ben Johnson, that can certainly help them win games.
Yeah, let's go back. You mentioned week one there. Obviously, it was a big Monday Night Football matchup. The Bears really dominated for 3 quarters, and then the fourth quarter kind of came, and J.J. McCarthy probably played his finest quarter as a professional. The Vikings coming out victorious in that game. Like you said, though, the Bears started the season 0-2. Since then, they're 6-1. What do you think the Bears learned from that week one loss that they're going to try to avenge on Sunday at U.S. Bank Stadium?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the fourth quarter going into that game, they were up 11, right? So a complete meltdown, I feel like, from what I saw. J.J. McCarthy took over a little bit there. And I think, honestly, the season has been the Vikings are a team that I've been keeping an eye on a lot this season, just because I think it's just so fast. Like J.J. McCarthy, he's got that Chicagoland connection too, by the way. I was able to talk to his mom and dad, some of his family and coaches too, when they were in town to play the Bears in week one. But yeah, I think right now you look at this team, especially in the last 2 weeks, the way that they've won these games, large in part because of Caleb Williams. I believe he's had engineered 4 fourth quarter game-winning drives this season. That was his 6th fourth quarter comeback that he was able to rally. And I mean, this is a guy that I think the relationship with Ben Johnson, you're seeing this grow week in and week out. But this is a team that I think knows how to win games now. I mean, large in part, you look at last season, these were games that they would have lost, period, right? Kevin Byard said how last year on the sidelines, when the games were coming down to the wire, there was panic on the sidelines. This year, it's so different. Everyone's calm, and Caleb Williams has talked about how when he's in those pressure moments, right, 2-minute mode where the game is on the line, he just feels like a really big sense of calmness. And I actually was on a call earlier in this week with one of his high school coaches, and they said, he's always been this way, actually. Like, even in high school, knowing how to engineer some of those game-winning drives, he's always had this will to win. So I think overall as a team too, you're seeing that Ben Johnson's building just a tough team, right? A team that, for the first few weeks, the penalties were an issue, right? Red zone offense was an issue. They've certainly cleaned that up these last few games. And anytime Ben Johnson challenges this team, like they step up to the plate and they answer the call. So I think that's been one of the biggest differences. Like, they're learning how to win games, and they're building that sense of toughness too.
You mentioned there at the top that you had the chance to speak to J.J. McCarthy's parents at one point. J.J. McCarthy, a Chicagoland native, went to Nazareth Academy in LaGrange Park. What was that conversation like with Mr. and Mrs. McCarthy?
Oh my goodness, they're so proud. they're so proud of him. And oh my gosh, I think like the older you get too, like you just appreciate, like I have good friends who are parents and everything too. You understand more what it's like to be proud of your child. And again, JJ McCarthy, he's a winner, right? He's won at the high school level. He's won in college, right? And now obviously in the NFL. I know injuries have certainly played a factor in his career, but I think there's just a lot of pride. And the town that he's from, it's a small town, and just to see his teachers, his old high school coach too. I got to go to his high school as well, Nazareth Academy, to talk to his old high school coach too. I mean, they're all so proud of him. He's honestly just a really, really good kid.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And they love him here in Minnesota. Let's talk about the opposing quarterback, Caleb Williams. You talked about all the strides that he's made this season, especially with Ben Johnson coming in under the helm and them trying to establish a rapport and learning from each other. You're in the locker room there with all these guys. What's Caleb Williams been like as the season has progressed?
Honestly, there's such a level of maturity to him. And I think even like when he got drafted here by the Bears last year, in 2024, and just seeing, obviously following his career at Oklahoma, I'm from the South, went to an SEC school, so we're always keeping tabs on college football there too. And then going to USC, there's just a level of like maturity to him. And even seeing how last year panned out, right? Obviously not in really a position to succeed. You saw Matt Eberflus get fired, Shane Waldron as well. A lot of coaching changes too. He's always handled everything so well. And I think this year, obviously, when you look at the on the field stuff, Ryan Poles and them, they went into the offseason, right, really investing in the interior of that offensive line, center and guard. You're seeing that pay off. His sack numbers are certainly down. I believe around this time last season, it was around the time they were playing New England, and he was sacked 9 times. I mean, I believe the number too at last time this year was around 38. So it's significantly down this year. But I think that's a credit to the offensive line. They've been playing really well. And when you get veteran guys right on the O-line, it does wonders. But also too, I think it's how Ben Johnson's calling some of the game as well. That has helped him a ton. But Caleb Williams talked about it this past week, how he's even understanding, like, he feels like for a while when you watch him, I felt like he was going through his reads, his progressions too slow, but he was like, no, I feel like sometimes I'm going through them a little bit too fast, right? So he's learning really the intent behind why Ben is calling certain plays and what to do with the ball, right? Do I scramble? Do I try to extend the play, or do I throw it away? So I think one thing this year, the development of Caleb Williams was going to be a huge talking point, right? No matter what, especially getting the guy, Ben Johnson, right? Someone that a lot of teams wanted to chase after. We knew it was going to be an up and down season when it comes to growth. Growth, it's never linear. But I think when you just look at like the overall picture, they're 6-3 right now, tied for first in the division. I mean, incredible. Adam, this is a really tough division. Tied for first right now. The numbers overall, even when you look at things offensively, I mean, they're like top 10 in points per game, total offense, pass yards as well per game, rushing as well. I mean, this is a team right now that they're about to enter the toughest part of their schedule, which I think is going to be really fascinating to see how this pans out, because I will say the last 2 weeks, you have faced teams that record-wise, obviously, they haven't been great. And again, going back to Caleb Williams, that fourth quarter late heroic instinct that kind of kicks in. They won those last 2 games, but you're about to face team. You haven't even played Green Bay yet, man. And I know Jordan Love, man, he's inconsistent, right? Doesn't do a great job of taking care of the ball. But that defense, man, that defense in Green Bay is going to win them games. So, and obviously they'll play the Lions again too at some point. But this remaining 8 games is going to be really tough. And I think too, seeing how they play Minnesota on Sunday, I think will be a good measuring stick on where this team truly is at. Because one, you're also looking at Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson facing Brian Flores' defense, right? And for us here, like, we know he's so great at changing the identity, disguises and all that stuff too. So it'll be interesting to see that matchup and how Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson handles it the second time around.
No doubt. And the Bears, a huge game next Sunday back at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers, with Aaron Rodgers making his return to Chicago. I know the Bears fans have a very special relationship with Aaron Rodgers, so that should be a fun matchup to watch as well.
That's a nice way of putting it there.
It's a very Minnesota nice way of putting it. Tina, let's get a score prediction. The odds makers have this right around a pick 'em. They have the Vikings as 2.5-point favorites. You generally get 3 points at home, so it's about a pick 'em. What do you think?
Honestly, oh my gosh, I thought about this on my drive up here to Hallis Hall. I'm gonna go Bears 24-21. I think this is gonna be a close game. I know JJ McCarthy, 6 interceptions in his 4 games. And obviously I think the Bears have built an identity, especially on that defense, despite them being so like dealing with injuries, banged up and all that stuff. Dennis Allen has this team, one of their identities on defense is right, taking care of taking the ball away. So I think there's some opportunities there. I'm going to go 24-21 Bears. I think it's going to be a close one. Ben Johnson said last week, this is a must-win game for us. I mean, we're 0-2 in the division. So, yeah, I think it's going to be so good. I'm so excited.
It should be fun. Tina, last thing, when you were talking about Caleb Williams and saying you went to an SEC school, you were keeping tabs on him during his days at Oklahoma, go tell the people where you went to school. They're having a great year. You're a Texas A&M grad. They're ranked 3rd in the college football playoff poll. You guys got a big game against South Carolina this week. How you feeling about the Aggies?
I am feeling great. I'm trying to contain my excitement level here at Hallis Hall. Yeah, 9-0 on the season. First time since 92. Actually, my family, back in 92, the head coach was R.C. Slocum. I'm actually really good friends with Coach Slocum. We're family friends. So I was texting Coach last Sunday. It was also his birthday recently. I'm like, Coach, we're 9-0. But yeah, it's incredible to see what Mike Elko has done. The quarterback play of Marcel Reed has really surprised me a lot this season. Obviously, they have a dual threat quarterback. The defense has been great too. So yeah, exciting times in Aggie land. I'm so used to being let down by Aggie football, right?
Yep.
So it's nice I can't believe they're 9-0, but I'm very, very ecstatic about it.
It should be fun in Aggieland. And for the Minnesota people that don't know, Coach R.C. Slocum is an absolute legend at Texas A&M, a Texas football legend. Forget about even A&M, the whole state. His name is like royalty there. Tina, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for making time for us and joining us today in the afternoon shift. Bear down, Skull Vikes, you're the pride and joy of Illinois. Tina Nguyen, we appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Tina helping us ring in this football weekend here in the land of 10,000 lakes. We got the Vikings-Bears on Sunday at noon. And then tonight, of course, the Minnesota Golden Gophers going up against the 8th-ranked Oregon Ducks, a team that maybe Tina's Texas A&M Aggies could see in the playoff in a few weeks, but maybe Minnesota could pull off the upset tonight and knock Oregon out of the playoff. That game begins at 8 o'clock. Right here on Fox 9. All right, the afternoon shift is going to continue right after. Welcome back here to the afternoon shift. Yesterday, we had the chance to talk to the CEO of an organization called NMDP. You probably better know them as Be the Match. That's what they used to brand themselves as. They're based right here in Minneapolis, and what they do is they help match patients that need bone marrow and stem cell transplants with others that are out there that can donate to them. They run the world's largest donor registry for these types of transplants. Their CEO, her name is Amy Ronenberg. I had the chance to speak to her yesterday, and the clip was so good that we decided to air it again. Here's my conversation with Amy. Take a look. Minneapolis-based nonprofit called NMDP. You probably know it as Be the Match. It has made a breakthrough that can allow thousands more bone marrow and stem cell transplants every year. Here to tell us more is NMDP CEO Amy Ronenberg. Amy, welcome to the afternoon shift. How are you?
Thank you so much for having us.
I appreciate you coming on and being with us in studio today. I think there's probably a lot of people at home. They're like, why is bone marrow important? What makes bone marrow so important to us?
So bone marrow is where our red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets are produced. So very important. What's so important, though, from patient's perspective is bone marrow from a healthy donor, someone who's on the bone marrow registry, can donate their stem cells, their bone marrow, and it can cure someone. It can be curative to patients who have leukemia, lymphoma, and up to 70 different indications.
So can people just donate their bone marrow and their stem cells? Is it kind of like blood in a way?
Yes,
yeah.
Perfect. So it's really easy to do. If you're between the ages of 18 and 35, you can join the most diverse registry in the world. If you go to nmdp.org, you sign up. It's a simple cheek swab. With that, you'll be on the greatest waiting list in the world. And then if you're a match, so a patient in need of your specific bone marrow, we'll give you a call and you have an opportunity to donate. 90% of the time, you're sitting in a chair, you can be watching a movie, playing video games, and it's very much like donating blood. We take the blood from your vein, we take the good stuff out through an apheresis process, and then put the blood back into you. It can be around 4 to 6 hours, but painless, and again, an opportunity to save someone's life.
No doubt, no doubt. NMDP, this is a worldwide organization? It's not just a Minnesota-based thing, yeah?
Yes, we're worldwide. Our headquarters are in Minneapolis.
Yep.
We are a global nonprofit with the most diverse registry in the world, accessing 42 million donors worldwide.
That's amazing, amazing. And right here in the Twin Cities, you had a big breakthrough that could allow for even more bone marrow and stem cell transplants every year. What led to this big breakthrough?
I'm so proud of the organization and the work that they've done from a research perspective. It is transformational, game-changing research. And so NMDP also invests in research because it's so important that patients not only survive, but they thrive. And historically, there was a huge diverse gap that existed. If you were a patient, a non-Hispanic white, you had a 79% chance of finding a match on the registry. If you were Hispanic, Asian, in the 40% only, and that dropped all the way to 29% if you were an African Black American. And that was not acceptable to NMDP. So we invested in research that taking standard chemotherapy and providing it post-transplant has completely changed things. So now you don't have to be a perfect match anymore. You can have 1 or 2 mismatch. We call it a 7 out of 8 or a 6 out of 8. And because of that, what's so important, even though there's 42 million people on the registry, seems huge, there just was not enough donors to make sure that we could help every patient. Now today, we can say, if you are a non-Hispanic white, you have a 99% chance of finding a match on the registry. And what I'm most proud of, that 29% for Black African Americans goes all the way up to 99%. We have truly transformed medicine.
That is absolutely incredible. And I guess my next question was going to be, what groups benefit the most? I would say people like me and others that don't fit that white non-Hispanic sort of shell there. Those are the groups that are really benefiting the most from this.
Absolutely. Yeah, Adam, you're exactly right. And it really has been transformational. This last year, we were able to help 8,879 patients, with the most patients from ethnic diverse backgrounds ever in our history. And it's all because of this research.
8,879 additional patients that were helped just in the last year alone.
In the last year.
Incredible. Can you tell us about maybe some of these patients that you've helped so far?
There's so many. I think Ethan, great example.
You see pictures of little Ethan there.
Yeah, and patients can be newborns all the way up to 80 years old. And so an opportunity to literally save a patient like Ethan, and an opportunity then to meet Ethan and his family. It's one of the greatest altruistic opportunities we have.
Can you tell us more about Ethan? So it looks like he's very young there. What did he know? Did the family know kind of right from birth that there was something wasn't right with? Go ahead.
It can be different for everybody.
Yeah.
It can be, we hear stories about patients like Ethan and others who are going for a normal checkup and find something wrong in their blood test, or it can be suddenly you're just not feeling well and you just can't get better. So leukemia, lymphoma, blood cancers, blood disorders can show up in a lot of different ways. A bone marrow transplant can also help patients with sickle cell disease. Often they know as soon as they're born that might be a trait that they have. So it really can range different for all patients.
Is this something that you can develop not just as a newborn, but you could be, I'm 33 years old, you could be 33, or you could be 63. Like, this is something that can impact you at any point during your life. Is that right?
Leukemia, any age. Lymphoma, any age, yes, absolutely. And oftentimes our average patient for leukemia is in their 60s. So absolutely, our fastest growing population of patients that we're helping today are over the age of 60. And so, again, the opportunity to join the registry, going to nmdp.org, you can save a life. You can save a newborn's life. You can save a 60-year-old life.
Now that we're talking about this, I'm fairly certain one of my best friends from college, his name is Eric, I'm pretty sure that he volunteered for this. He was a match. He lives in Chicago. I'm pretty sure he had to go to Michigan to go get the procedure done and everything.
Yep.
There's probably a lot of people out there, like my friend Eric, if he's watching now, and others that are curious about being a match for somebody, being a donor for somebody, but maybe they have some hesitations here and there. What would you say to somebody that has some interest in this, but maybe there's some hangups that they're concerned about?
Absolutely. I would say do it. Join the registry. It's an opportunity to save a life. And in a world that can be very crazy, it's hard to be able to have that type of impact. It is a simple procedure. You'll have shots for several days prior to the donation, which then really, as we say, kind of makes you superhuman immune system. And then again, it's very similar to donating blood. That easy one day saves someone's life. It gives them the opportunity to spend Thanksgiving with their family, or a holiday, or see their child walk down the aisle, or go to kindergarten. I mean, it's all of those amazing moments that can happen because someone said yes when they got the call to donate.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And literally, like you said, anybody can sign up and donate this. Join the registry. It's the largest in the world. Yeah. Do you know once you sign up and once you go through the process, do you know like the exact person that you're impacting? Like, do you get that sort of information?
Yeah, great question. So if you're between the age of 18 and 35, so if you're matured beyond the age of 35, like myself, although my bone young at heart, yes. My bone marrow works great for me, but we have found with older donors the outcomes aren't as good for patients. So that ideal spot is 18 to 35, and if you're donating to someone in the U.S., there's a 1-year waiting period, but then you can share emails, you can share letters, and then at that 1-year mark, we do one of the most beautiful things. If you have a chance, come to our gala. It's an opportunity to see a donor and a patient meet for the very first time on stage. Go out to nmdp.org. We have lots of those videos if you want a really good cry.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's got to be a super emotional thing that happens when you get to actually meet the person that really helped to save your life and whatnot. And it's got to be like a really impactful thing. And again, this doesn't have to just be like two people from the same city. This could be a person in LA donating to a person in Boston and helping to impact their life.
And it's global, it's worldwide.
Yeah.
So it's possible that if you needed a bone marrow transplant, your match or your donor could be in the UK. Mm-hmm. And same here, that you could be donating for someone outside of the U.S.
Amy, you're the CEO of NMDP. Why this organization? What got you interested in this? Has this maybe impacted your family or friends closely yourself?
So I was at a point in my life, I had a 1 and a 3-year-old, and I was a finance CFO, and realized I needed to do something that I was making an impact in people's lives. Children kind of changed that for me, and I realized if I'm going to be away from them, I have to be doing something good. It was at that time that I was diagnosed with cancer during the interview process, and they still hired me. And so it was...
Wait, the interview process for...
For being the CFO at NMDP.
Wow.
And I knew then that, call it whatever it is, fate, that I was given this incredible opportunity to be able to give back to the world. They saw me through all of my chemo, and so I am forever loyal. I am so blessed to be able to work at an organization that gets to save lives every day.
Wow. Did you yourself rely on a donor to help you in your process?
I did not have a blood cancer. I had a different kind of cancer, but it really helped me appreciate what patients go through and how terrifying it is. Yeah. And so that's another great thing that NMDP does is patients who may be having financial issues, we want them to focus on their health journey. And so we donate, we've provided more than $7 million in financial assistance to patients so they don't have to decide between putting food on the table or getting healthy. And that's another great opportunity if you want to help patients like Ethan, like others, but you're over the age of 35. You can go to nmdp.org, join for advocacy, awareness, or financial contributions.
Amazing. Amy, we probably have viewers out there that are living with cancer right now or living with somebody in their family that has cancer. Your message to them as they're going through this fight, or again, maybe they're just somebody that's really close to somebody that's going through the fight right now. What would you say, if you can go back to that point in your life?
Don't give up hope. If you're going through a blood cancer, we are here to help. We are here to see you throughout your entire journey. We often say at NMDP that pressure is a privilege. The great Billie Jean King said it. And it is a lot of pressure, but it's a privilege to be able to help those in need, and we're here for you.
That's a great quote by Billie Jean King. And I love that. I've told myself multiple times in my life, I really love that. My biggest takeaway here, out there, if you're out there and you're like me, you're between the ages of 18 and 35. I'm 33 years old. We're in our prime right now for NMDP, and we have the opportunity to go help save a life. And it might not just be a person here in the state of Minnesota or even in the United States, frankly. It could be somebody from anywhere around the world. If you join the world's largest registry at nmdp.org, you can go there and you can help save a life, especially in the afternoon shift. We're really trying to cater to a younger demographic here. If you're out there and you're like me, you're in your prime right now to help people really get this match and help save their life. And like Amy said, this new breakthrough research that they had, especially people that maybe look like me as well, 8,879 patients just this calendar year that would not have been able to get a match previously were able to get a match this year because of an MDP.
They were able to find a suitable donor, whether it was a perfect match or a 7 out of 8, but we have had 5 consecutive record-breaking quarters because of this research, and we've been able to help. At one point, we were less than 14% of all transplants were for ethnically diverse patients. This last quarter, we're going to be at 26%. So we are making a difference. But we need more donors. We need donors to join the registry, and we need them to say yes when they get the call.
That's awesome, Amy. Thank you so much for your time here, for thoroughly explaining everything that NMDP does, and for the message out there for thousands of people to join the list. Get involved to help save lives because you don't realize that you can be making an impact just with your own inner beings right now. Yeah.
Yes.
What a great conversation that was with NMDP CEO Amy Ronenberg, an organization formerly known as Be The Match. You can go check out that interview on our website, fox9.com, and our YouTube page as well, right at Fox9. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we are going to be back and round out today's Friday episode. Don't go anywhere, folks. Welcome back to the afternoon shift. We are about 200 seconds away from the weekend here. It's been a really fun week here on the afternoon shift. Paul-Millgate,
you think it's specific? You're getting very specific.
Just doing some quick math here.
200 seconds until the weekend starts and counting. What was probably the most significant thing that happened for you this week, Adam?
Oh, man. The most significant thing that happened for me this week, I really liked that conversation with Amy Ronenberg for Be The Match. That was really nice. Oh, man. It's hard to remember everything that we did this week.
Well, I'm going to say I think that probably the number one news story that kind of went across the week. I mean, there were some big ones.
Oh, yeah.
But Minnesota's obsession with the Northern Lights. And your unobsession with the Northern Lights. Look at this. This was taken by our one and only Grace Henry. Look at that photo from St. Louis
Shout out,
Park.
Grace. That's a gorgeous photo.
What a great
really
photo.
Is. I love St. Louis Park. Yangtze Restaurant, great place. I love St. Louis Park.
So are they still overhyped?
I look, it's like, again,
I'm just trying to get you on the record here. Are they overhyped?
We did this story back in the springtime. We're going to do it again next spring. It used to be you had to go to Iceland to go see the Northern Lights. It's just like, it's kind of lost a little bit of its charm. Beautiful in Otsego.
This
That's
was
wonderful.
taken by Grace's mom.
Shout out to you, Mrs. Henry. Yeah. That's a great picture right there.
Beautiful photo.
It really is beautiful. It truthfully, it really is beautiful. Listen, I don't want to yuck anybody's yum, so I'm happy that everybody enjoyed the Northern Lights. Hey, look at there. There's Paul and his beautiful wife, Kaylee, in Waconia. Paul drove.
That was taken by the windshield wiper on the back of our car and the timer.
You drove to go see the Northern Lights. Yes.
We did drive. We did drive to go and see the Northern Lights. I mean, this photo here is my favorite.
That's gorgeous. That's gorgeous.
Holding hands with my favorite person in the whole wide world.
Amazing. I drive to go get Italian food. I don't know if I drive to go see the Northern Lights, but I respect those that do. So.
I think the thing is we're not going to see it like that for a bit. I think it was a pretty spectacular. I know.
It'll be a few months.
I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think there's so much science that we've got available to us now. We actually can look at the sun and see when these solar flares are rolling in. We'd have to get a meteorologist in to kind of verify what I'm saying. It's completely. I'm just making this up. But I'm pretty sure the reason that we're seeing more reporting of it is that it's kind of we can actually anticipate it a little bit more than we used to be able to.
Yes.
We didn't know that a huge solar flare had gone off on the sun. Now we've got these telescopes trained on the sun. That's why we know it more often. And we should be grateful if we know it.
Very grateful.
It used to have to accidentally happen across them. Now we can go outside because we know it's kind of maybe going to happen.
It's gorgeous. It really is. I'm really happy for all the Minnesotans that got a huge kick. It was all over my Instagram feed on Tuesday or whatever day that was, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. It's just really nice. I'm so happy that everybody really enjoyed the Northern Lights. I'm not gonna yuck anybody's yum here. Really happy for all of you all that enjoyed the beautiful light show that we had. Really happy that you all joined us here in the afternoon shift all week long. It really has been a fun week, and now it's time for the weekend. Just remember the Gophers tonight in about 3 hours right here on Fox 9. On behalf of my co-host maxx-fuller, our executive producer Paul-Millgate, our producer Grace Henry, and all the good people here at Fox 9, I'm Adam-llorens. We will see you all on Monday. The 5 o'clock news starts right now.